مساء الخير. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pakiza. I'm the Economic Development Board, and I look after StartUp Bahrain. I have the privilege of working with an amazing group of startups that are with me here today on this panel. I'd like to start this session with a quick introduction about yourselves and about your companies. So shall we start with ladies first? Hayat Hala.
Hello and good afternoon. This is Hala Sulaiman. I'm the co-founder for AlRawi Media. It's an audiobook social network platform. We're about 2 years old, and we hopefully will be there for a long time. And this is our second time to speak at Unbound Bahrain. We won last year in one of the awards with Unbound Bahrain, and we're happy to share our experience and how much progress we've had since last year.
Amazing. Abdullah?
Hi, my name is Abdullah. I'm an ex-engineer and the founder of Akalati app, which is a mobile food app for parties, events, and gatherings that we've been running for a year. We're part of Flat 6 Labs' second cohort. If you were here last night, you would have seen us pitch. That's about it.
Hi, my name is Hussain Haji, CEO and co-founder of inagrab. People like to call me a serial entrepreneur. I've actually launched 5 startups, inagrab being the 5th. inagrab basically is a market intelligence platform that helps retailers scale smart. We also have another vertical that helps monetize word of mouth.
My name is Yasser Abdulaziz, CEO and founder of Malaeb app. So I have a financial background, and I worked for 2 years at Unilever. I'm a football addict by nature, so I then got the opportunity to start Malaeb.
So our panel today is to discuss the opportunities that are available for Bahraini startups, local startups to scale globally into different markets. So if anyone would like to share with us the feedback, the opportunities that are out there for companies and for startups to scale.
Sure. So if I may start, because actually our startup is actually all about helping businesses scale. Right? So with inagrab, we help many businesses understand or get insight on where the best market for them is, and how to position themselves and station themselves and price themselves according to that market based on actual data. So I can actually say that today, at this day and age at least, in my opinion, maybe it might differ when it comes to the rest of the group here, as scaling is not as difficult as it used to be, especially with the technology that we have now. In some cases, like for us as a SaaS model, we can be global almost instantaneously. Obviously, we need to focus on a region and so on and so forth, but we can be global instantaneously. As opposed to a more not direct or B2C model, like some of the, I believe, startups, a couple of startups that were with us here, it might be a bit more difficult because they might need manpower on-premise to actually work there and onboard businesses and so on and so forth. And that's actually our second vertical does need that as well. So, I mean, scaling is not as difficult. In terms of opportunities available, the opportunities are all over the place. And Bahrain as a hub, it's an amazing launch pad for us to actually start scaling into the region, the MENA region, and specifically GCC to be exact in the beginning.
Do you feel that a startup needs to be born global from day one?
I think maybe if I can share our story as AlRawi, I mean, we usually like to use this catchline. We say we're born in Bahrain with an Arabic identity because we focus on Arabic content, and with a global outreach being a sort of a tech platform and application. But you do need to have a starting point from somewhere, and usually a place like Bahrain is the right starting point. 1, because of its size, 2, because of the nature of the country. In our case, the high literacy rate, the education level, the love of culture, all of this added value to us as an app. And yes, we do need to reach out globally because you already overcome the digital divide with a tech app or with a tech platform. So you certainly need to do that and reach out to the world.
I want to explore the source of energy that you as startups get. So they're laughing because we always discuss the struggles that a startup go through, the different endless nights, sleepless nights. Mashallah, where do you get the energy from, and what's the source of your energy?
If I may start, so what we're trying to achieve since last year is we're starting to build this social community for sport lovers. So once you get within the work of the startup and you get your mind within these numbers, you kind of forget the impact you're having out there. So every now and then, or even when I'm traveling for business, I like joining matches that are happening around. And there I get to meet the people who are actually using the app. And you get people who tell you, I haven't played in like 2 years, and now I play every single week. So you're literally changing my life. So that gives me that drive, that boost of energy to keep going, to know that sometimes we forget that once we get into that growth mindset, we focus on the numbers, but you're actually connecting people. And every single person has their own story.
My personal perspective is, I mean, the source of energy for me comes from, alhamdulillah, I was blessed with a very, very supportive family. So I know, I actually know, it's dangerous to speak about this very, very boldly, because I give a lot of my, motivation that I get comes from my mother. I know it sounds very cheesy, but she actually does help, especially when I feel down. She talks, and takes me up and puts me back up where I'm supposed to be. And my wife actually sometimes tells me to man up every now and then as well, which is really good.
It's a good thing you mentioned your wife. It's a very good thing he mentioned his wife, or he's not going back home today.
Well, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, you got me there. It's a fact. Anyways, going back to the third is being my kids as well. When you see those kids, and obviously they don't understand what we do, being data analysis or market intelligence, but for them, when they see our concept or our logo and go like, Dad, I like this, or I love this, it's actually very motivational. It keeps you going. And I think we spoke earlier with Hala about coaching some other future startups as well, and that actually is very motivational as well. Maybe you want to give
So basically, one of the things that you end up doing, having your own business or startup, is, and also it comes with age, but basically what you end up doing is you mentor other startups and you mentor youth, and they become, I mean, to me, they're the source of energy. They're the source of inspiration, because you're thinking based on a specific mindset and you're looking at it from your own perspective. But when you're dealing with other youth and you're talking with them, and maybe most recently an experience was with the Mashru'i, the youth business plan youth program, it's a totally different generation. You know, totally different outlook. They're looking at the future. They're looking at everything. And again, I always say this in different sessions, we've been very lucky because you have the startup ecosystem in Bahrain. You have the programs, like the mentorship programs, the coaching programs. You have the financing opportunities. And ideally, the youth that we have are now they have their own initiatives and their own potential. So you have a full combination for a success story.
Abdullah?
Well, I have to disagree as usual. Not disagree, but just like on being global, if I may go back to that point, it's overvalued. What matters is the market. That's my point of it. What matters is the market you're going after. If it's a $50 billion locally compared to $10 billion globally, I would go for the 50. That's what matters. On the energy, I mean, there are a lot of supporting people around you. That's very important. But the drive has to be from you, from within. Everybody has his own reasons. You know? For you, it could be the kids. For you, it could be your customers.
What about you?
For some people, it could be the passion, the achievement. For me, it's putting things in order. You know? And the challenge.
Is that your engineering background kicking
yes,
in?
fixing stuff. But for me, what drives me is the feeling of the achievement at the end of the journey, and putting things in order, and the challenge. Whenever there is no resistance, you're not doing anything of importance. There has to be some resistance, and you have to face problems. If 2 days pass and you don't have trouble doing whatever you in your life, you're not living.
But what takes you through that challenge?
Yeah.
Well, you find the next. I mean, it's continuous.
Yeah,
You know?
that's the spirit, right? So, speaking of spirits and encouragement. We'd like to explore what could governments do to empower and to facilitate your journey and your achievement. What could banks do more of? What could different entities do maybe less of? So share with us your thoughts on that matter. What would you feel?
I think my take on this is just, it's very general. I think it's only one word. We just need them to believe in us. It's belief. So as startups, as you know, we offer services that can help government, that can help corporates, that can help individuals. And I'm speaking for myself as well. The data that we provide can actually help an entire ecosystem of SMEs, in Bahrain, in the region, and so on and so forth.
Can you give me an example, Hussain?
So as an example, we can help a retailer that is selling an item let's assume it's made in Bahrain. Make them understand where they can export their product.
Okay.
Because in a sense, we give them the insight for them to understand, hey, so your product is selling mainly in Russia, China, and Indonesia, so you got to promote yourself over there. This is the lead generator to go and find it. So all that data is compiled and shown to that individual in a very, very simple manner for them to understand. And we understand that there's a local initiative called Export BH. There's another initiative that has something to do with export as well in our region. And we would like the opportunity to be able to go in there and pitch for providing that data for them to relay to the market. And with that, we can do so many things. Proof of concept. We can help as many people and achieve our vision, which is helping businesses scale. And at the same time, give a chance for the entire country, in a sense, to increase its GDP as well. So it's not like we're trying to just make money off of this. We're literally trying to help people. We're trying to help businesses. We're trying to prove a point. And belief is extremely important for us when they believe in us. And I think that's basically my...
So you can go ahead. So if I'm going to speak about governments, I believe, first of all, I don't agree with the sense that governments have to directly invest or interfere with startups. I feel that they have to take a supporting role in providing the ecosystem and the environment for these startups to work in. So when it comes to the ministries, when it comes to the legal framework that we have to go through, it has to be really smooth for us and not hold us back. That's first of all. And providing us with that ecosystem that allows us to meet investors, mentors, and just thrive. And by doing that, they just have to provide that environment and let us grow within it. Don't compete with us. Don't start your own initiatives when you know that you have startups who can provide these solutions and can take them forward.
Absolutely.
So that's my point.
If I may take the companies and banks. The usual process most organizations, big organizations, go through to validate vendors to them are based on their previous work, based on the amount, the number of employees they have, based on their bank account, and so on, their credit. That doesn't apply to startups. Startups, it could be a team of 2 or 3 backed with technology that could beat a company of 100 people. So if I may ask companies and banks to take startups seriously, become more startup friendly, give these startups the opportunity to show you what they could accomplish at lower costs in most cases, much more efficiently and smoother. That ends up helping these companies even on their bottom lines. If they're all about numbers, even on their bottom lines and their end revenues and costs, that is a big factor that they could actually utilize.
What stops them from being open to startups?
The whole startup scene is quite new. Okay? And it would take them time to adapt that, but there has to be leaders of these companies that are backing up startups.
Sort of role models
to showcase, to showcase, like, for example, we provide catering services, and I can guarantee to you that whenever vendors see Battleco on the invoice, the price would go higher. If they come through us, we could cater the whole year for them for a 20, 30% less cost.
Interesting.
Yeah, but, and this applies to all kinds of startups. I mean, give these startups the opportunity, just look at them seriously and try them, test them at smaller scales. And then basically if they deliver and fulfill what you're expecting, then it could be a complete commercial transaction that has nothing to do with startups or anything. It's just pure business. And that would make sense to them. This would allow us as startups to showcase what we can do to these organizations.
Very interesting. Abdullah, Hala, you have something to
I
add?
think also when you say government, the government is already in line because that's where the Vision 2030 and the national economy comes from. You know, the whole plans are actually to help startups and entrepreneurship taking the lead. But I think it's decision makers in certain government positions, maybe something that the startup ecosystem, the StartUp Bahrain program can educate government officials, create maybe sort of B2 government sessions where we explain to them how we can support them and vice versa, get data and information that will help us to serve them better. So for example, being an audiobook application, we offer continuous learning, or we can offer continuous education. So perhaps getting the proper statistics from the Ministry of Education, we can create a solution that will cut costs and serve the whole population. And it's open to competition, so not only just us, but at least provide us the opportunity by giving us the data, and one is the belief, two is creating the opportunity.
Amazing.
May I add one thing, please? I always go around. We could take this also the opposite way. What do we need as startups to do to break these walls? Those are resistance to us, basically. And whenever there is change, the whole economy is changing, the region is changing, there will always be resistance. We need to break also these walls, so maybe we need to do some more.
It's persistence,
like
for us.
door knocking on these corporations to start and changing how they react to us, I think.
So I was talking about this yesterday. It's about persistence. So for us, one of the biggest dilemmas any startup has in our region is funding, right? So when you knock the door on a single investor once and he rejects you, you gotta knock the door of that investor again a month later, and then a month later, and then a month later, until the investor is so sick of you, he's gonna give you that money.
That's your funding strategy?
Well, yeah, usually it doesn't always work until at some point
I
someone
would keep
is
doing
picking
it
up.
just to annoy him.
or that. But more or less, it's persistence. As startup founders, and I actually, it's not just a trend. It's a fact. How does a startup become successful and grow? It's when the founders of that startup and the team in general all take action and actually are persistent. And when there's a challenge, they will always find a solution for that challenge. And that's basically that.
Interesting. If I may ask you about a moment in time where you wanted to tell your younger self something, what would that advice be? So go back to the days of university.
Buy Bitcoin.
That would be your...
Stop wasting time, do something.
I should have married a multimillionaire. But no, I think probably I said this to myself, and I would say it to anybody in this hall. I would say it to any youth or young people that I mentor, is try. Even if you fail, you know that you've tried your best.
Yeah. Accept failure. I think accepting failure is one thing. And another thing is surround yourself with the right people. That's really important. Unfortunately, when we were younger, everybody would, it's really difficult to gauge who the person is. And to find a person that will actually improve you rather than degrade you in a sense is quite difficult nowadays. And I know this might sound a bit demeaning to some personalities, but when you're surrounding, the smart person is basically surrounding him, the one that surrounds himself with the people smarter than him, or people that actually will help him grow, and so on and so forth. So that's something that I would tell my younger self.
So I prefer looking at the future. So I think everything that happened in my past led to where I am today.
Yeah.
So I would speak to my present self in order to impact my future self.
Nice.
And what would you tell your present self?
Continue doing
be more
what you do.
adventurous. Be more adventurous. Maybe try to inspire more.
Nice.
And be more outgoing.
But mind you, Yasser is inspiring, by the way. Yasser is a
indeed.
mentor or coach to one of the startups that is, I think, sitting in the audience, Telt right there, which are doing an awesome job. And
it's all down to her, to be honest. So I just helped her in the beginning, and it was her drive, her hard work.
Awesome.
Actually, each one of you on stage today is a mentor to other startups, to other individuals. And I believe, in my opinion, this is the role that we play on a daily basis, is to help others, to inspire others, and try to collectively work together on improving our ecosystem, on improving our opportunities for us to grow and scale. With this final note, I'd like to open it to the audience to interact with us and ask the startups any question you have, any inquiry, any remark. So please let it be engaging. So if anyone here has a question,
And
please
if you're in
do.
the back, please yell.
Yeah.
No?
Come on.
Yes.
There you go.
Tfaddal.
Someone.
Mhm.
Biggest challenge.
Your biggest challenge.
Oh, wow. So,
What was your, out of everything, you know, financially, setting up the procedures of the companies, meeting clients, trying to sell, trying to market, what was your biggest challenge?
there are two that I think sit on the same level. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this guy that's just asking me the question used to teach me in college. So, yeah. Right? And I was the highest achiever in his class.
Hey.
Anyway, so more or less, no. The two biggest challenges, I think, they sit on the same pedestal. Number one was financial, and because my first two startups were major flops or major failures. Mind you, I quit a job that was paying me almost 4,000 dinars a month, and immediately, without a plan, and immediately jumped into the first business that I launched, and that failed. And then I launched another business, and that failed. And I was sulking around that time, thinking, what am I going to do? And during that time, I had a 2-month-old. Well, actually, by that time, she was around 6 months old. My daughter was there, and I didn't have more. And I say this very bluntly: I didn't have more than 3 dinars in my pocket. I needed to buy milk, Pampers, and figure out what to do for dinner for the next day, something of the sort. And it is quite difficult. I mean, you might not hear this story around in the country because, family will support each other. There's always someone that will help another individual. But I was that type of person that I'm not going to ever go to my father and ask him for money ever again. That was literally how I was. So that was one issue or one challenge. Second challenge would be basically getting access to the right people. So back then, startup was not anything to be known here. So you want to get access to someone that will believe in you to give you funding was literally the most difficult thing to do. Right nowadays, it's actually much easier, but I mean, as opposed to before. So, and people that would actually fund you would say, I'll take like the biggest chunk of your business. I'll take 90% and I'll give you the money that you're looking for. And that was extremely difficult as well to find. But alhamdulillah, I was lucky. Don't worry, I have more than 3 dinars in my pocket now, but I mean, I was lucky to actually raise $1.5 million for my first successful startup. And that completely changed the whole perspective of how things go from here.
Just to add to that, so a lot of people might see the outside of the founder and the company, but I think we've all been through that, and what we go through within the company, and it cannot be described. So we have a similar story. So after we basically got approval on our investment, it took us 3 to 6 months in order to finalize the legal papers and all of that, and to get the money in our bank. So we were literally bare bones, month by month, just living and scraping by. So I remember one month we had just paid our salaries, and I opened our bank account, and it only had 700 fils in it. So I sent it to Ahmed. I'm like, how did we even manage to get that? So now looking back at it, it's funny, but once you live in it, the stress, the overthinking of what's going to happen is really hard to take in.
Yeah.
And the challenges keep you going. You get slapped on the face, you fall, and you think, I'm not gonna go up again. And then you sleep over it, and you wake up. It keeps you going. It's a continuous cycle. it motivates you. Failure or any kind of challenges or rejection actually motivates you. I'm going to get this deal, or I'm going to make it happen. The only problem is for example, in our case, we're tech startups and we want things to happen overnight, but decisions take about from 6 to 12 months from different partners or stakeholders. So that's frustrating, but it keeps you going.
I have one small suggestion, and maybe perhaps one of you could deliver this message to the government, because we talked about government earlier. So I think startups need more advisory.
Sorry, more?
I
Could you
understand,
repeat
for
that?
example,
More
Temkeen has started advisory for startups when they're funding them. And it was a good idea, but then they stopped it. And I think it was too much manpower required to advise everybody in Bahrain. But I think it's really important. Startups need somebody to advise them.
If I may take that point, guys.
Sure.
It's very important, but what's more important is for the young generation and the startups to get the right information from the right people. So the last thing, I think Temkeen stopped that for a reason. The last thing you want is for startups who are building something, they don't know what it's going to be in the future. And definitely their mentors doesn't know what it's going to be in the future. They're in exploring phase. And have people that are not specialized in that give them advices that would most likely kill them. So yes, it's very crucial for startups to get mentors and knowledge, but it has to be from the right people. What's good, what's happening now is that the network in Bahrain, and with a lot of the VCs setting up here and a lot of mentors are coming and attending these events, is that we have more access to this kind of knowledge. And in previous meetings with EDB, with Temkeen, they knew that, and that's why they're driving this kind of events and this kind of expertise to the country to provide that actual knowledge that would make these startups go to the next level, and that's very crucial.
Yeah, but I mean, Temkeen is sitting here with the audience, but I can speak about my experience. I mean, there's 3 levels. For the youth, there are programs like Mashru'i and Injaz, and this helps youth. On the community level or the entrepreneurial ecosystem level, there is like the Startup Week, which creates also some kind of mentorship and coaching. There used to be a mentorship program. I don't know if it's still ongoing with Temkeen. And there's also
there's the accelerators
there's the
and the incubators.
There is
that provide.
UNIDO. So there's quite a lot going on. There's also EO Accelerator. So, but if you're lucky, you actually find a good business person who's willing to give you their time and guide you. But I think you might need to knock their doors. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this amazing talk. We're going to be around so we can continue this discussion later on, but I think our time is up. I see Daniel is here.
Yeah,
Yes.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.